Players.
Player's own.
Player's own.
Player's own voice.
Player's own voice.
It's Player's Own Voice, a podcast from CBC Sports. It is no exaggeration to call Patrick Chan a generational talent.
His skating skills have mesmerized us for more than a decade now.
There are a million reasons to have the newly retired figure skater on our podcast.
The 3-time world champion, the 10-time Canadian champion, Patrick Chan.
Patrick Chan. I could watch him just skate in circles around the rink and be totally happy. Thank you, Patrick.
But my favorite is that, before I found the strength to be who I am, Patrick was my first and my last and my only boyfriend. I'm Anastasia, 2-time Olympian, and today it is my delight to grab 2 mics and a few minutes with the one and only Patrick Chan. P. Chitty, Patrick Lewis Chan, heart of gold, sometimes does a few sow cows, 10-time national champion, 3-time Olympic medalist, 3-time world champion. Mm-hmm. You're annoying. Because
I'm not trying to be.
you just have to do, like, from one skater to the next, you just have to do crossovers, and it's like different. Like, you're just annoying. He's done an axel on my mother's old dull hockey skates, so that's all you need to know about this bum. You just retired.
Yes.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
How's the reception been?
Good. A lot of people, I've heard a few times people saying how sad they are that it's over, that I'm not competing anymore and that they can't watch me skate anymore. But it's not really over. I mean, for me, I continue to do shows, I continue to skate, and luckily figure skating is one of those sports where the transition after your competitive career is pretty smooth for you. If you're successful, and most of us are at the Olympic level, we get to do shows, and I've been very lucky to have a nice little soft landing, no pun intended, when it comes to the transition and moving on and finding a secure life after.
Was it scary, though, in a sense?
I had a bit of a dream situation, I think, when it comes to the right time to retire. It was pretty clear. It was after my 3rd Olympics, and I could really tell that was the period to that chapter. And I think if I had made the decision to retire in Sochi with the state of mind that I was in and how young I was and what skating meant to me at that time, I think it would have been a really, really tough transition to retire after that. Mostly just because I wasn't at peace with myself, and I wasn't at peace with the results that I had, and or just skating in general. Like, I was really doing it, I think, for the wrong reasons at the time. So that's never good when you leave something with a negative emotion. It will fester and kind of carry over to whatever you choose to do next.
What helped you kind of disassociate results with fulfillment?
Sochi, I think the Olympics in Sochi that was the perfect catalyst to me putting myself in the right mentality for the future and the rest of the next 4 years of skating. If I just look purely at the reaction I had after Sochi, which was like anger, resentment, and almost like blaming other people at that point, I think it's a bit of alarming when you start thinking with those ideas.
Way back on the blade there. A mistake on a double axel late in the program as well.
Whether it's gold or silver for Patrick Chan, needs a score of more than 182 to win the gold medal. Not quite.
The loss of not winning a gold, and I did grow up in a country where, unfortunately, we've never won an Olympic gold in the individual men's event. So, of course, that's a hot topic when it comes to media.
Here in the men's competition, the last time Canada won an Olympic bronze in this event was a silver medal was Brian Orser and Elvis Stoico. Twice they have won silver at the Olympic Games, but for Yuzuru Hanyu, well, there'll be celebrations in Japan tonight as that country wins its very first men's Olympic title.
Being a 3-time world champion at that point and undefeated in all the events leading up to it. And it's just like piling over and over, like more and more junk, just like weighing my shoulders down and being like, oh my God, like pulling me further away from I think my soul was trying to tell me why I'm skating and why I do this, and searching for the fun of it again. And I had all these external reasons that were weighing me down and pulling me further away from the truth of why I want to skate. And eventually I did feel that. Going into Sochi, that was my goal actually, and I was able to accomplish that.
Going into Pyeongchang.
Yes, sorry.
I know. No, me too. It's
too many Olympics.
Too many Olympics. So you did. You feel as though you skated for yourself.
Yeah, and it took a lot of different things. I mean, of course, first and foremost, you have to go trained and feel ready. And I think the most important thing that we overlook is realistic goals. And it's how realistic they are and how attainable they are. And or else if you set yourself goals that are really not realistic, then you're already setting yourself up for disappointment. And looking back at Sochi, that's exactly what happened. I set my goal as winning gold and nothing else, and then forgot about everything else. I forgot about the process. I forgot about even the day-to-day at the Olympics leading up to the individual event, like what it takes to just get myself through those days, to feel prepared, to feel rested, to feel sharp mentally. When I went to Pyeongchang, I had a great group of people who were just, including yourself and everybody. And I went through a really tough time, and it took me to the last year really to put all the missing pieces back together and going to the Olympics feeling like I don't owe anyone anything. And I remember going in, I was like, all I want is to step on that ice and not feel the way I did in Vancouver and in Sochi, which was like just fear. I was just like standing there waiting for my music to start and like thinking like I can't even feel my own body. I don't even feel like I'm in my own body. And it's a very scary feeling.
Who are you without figure skating?
I don't think I would be... I really don't think anything would be different. I think, unfortunately, I wouldn't have the friends I have, the really close friends I have, and I wouldn't have met you. I wouldn't have met all our wonderful friends in different sports. And thinking about it now, it's like those are all my friends, and those are my closest people. And the first person I'd call is Eric, and he's a skating teammate, right? So
Eric Radford. Point him up.
That would be the biggest loss, I think, is not having those people. But other than that, if I could keep my friends and I didn't have the success I had in skating, I hope I wouldn't be very different, and I hope I would be still try to carry myself properly and be a good role model to whomever it is, and obviously not in skating. So, but just give off a good positive energy to the people that are around me.
Canadians feel like they've watched you grow up. You've been in the public eye for a decade, essentially, since you were a little baby kid. Do you sometimes feel as though the public kind of owns you? You're being very humble. You're very you're easily recognizable.
Yeah.
How do you hold that?
Like anything, there is always going to be the people who will say something and it just doesn't come off well, and in those moments, I feel like, why do I need to be in front of people like this who make me feel this way? Sometimes I have to face the critics, and also just the quirky comments. And like one of the biggest things that I was just talking about with Liz, my girlfriend, and Eric, actually, we were on the plane, and like someone said, oh, I remember one, someone said, I was at a meet and greet at Stars on Ice, and they're like, "You're retired. Are you lazy? Like, are you being lazy?" And I was like, "Excuse me?" Like, it's like not funny, because it's like you can think before you talk too sometimes. And it's in those moments I just feel like, I sometimes am at the mercy of a sport that is driven by popularity and people knowing you and watching you on TV a lot. But I can't fault them for that. And it's everyone has their social quirks, and I really get to see a lot of them. And I just try to be as supportive and explaining, and sometimes I'm not. And sometimes I'm very short. I'm just like, yep, okay, thanks. See you later. Yeah.
It's weird though. People don't know, if someone retires from their work of 40 years, it's like, congratulations.
Yeah.
And when an athlete retires, people don't know what to say. It's like,
they're so young.
Sorry.
They're so young.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it has this negative tone to it when you say I'm retiring. It sounds like maybe some people get the reaction of like you're giving up, or you didn't get what you wanted, so you're walking away. But in my case, it wasn't like that at all. Like I didn't. Some people could say, well, he retired because he didn't win individual gold in Pyeongchang. But I set myself a goal prior to Pyeongchang, and it was to win my 10th national title, and then following by making the team, and then going to the team event in Pyeongchang and winning gold there. And I got to that end point, and I looked back and I was like, wow, I did it. And like with all the challenges I had, I was quite pleasantly surprised. I was just like, wow, it didn't happen the way I thought it would have happened, but I accomplished my goals and the goals I set. So that's one thing I've learned, is things will always be different than how you imagined it. But you got to just roll with the punches, I guess.
What are your regrets?
This year was a very interesting period where I changed the way I trained. Being 27, I found one of my biggest challenges. I mean, it started when I was really more like when I was 25. One of the first challenges I felt was how I could not train the way I used to train. And that's where growing up young in the sport really comes back to haunt you later on, because you're so set in the way that you've done things. And skating is very much like that. For people who don't know figure skating very much, it's a very old school sport when it comes to technology with the equipment, and when it comes to coaching style and coaching philosophies, it's pretty old school. And whereas other sports, and I learned quickly through this year leading up to the Olympics, working with the Canadian Sports Institute in Calgary, I learned quickly that all other sports follow a very pragmatic, very scheduled, very planned out training schedule, day to day, week to week, month to month. And also I had a great communication with Kelly Quip, who worked there, and she's a physiologist, and I really enjoyed the Monday to Fridays where I would check in with her sometimes every day and sometimes every other day, and not much longer, more than that, and just giving her an update about how I felt and how the day went, and then somebody just being on the other end being like, okay, interesting, yeah, okay. And then she's there like kind of mapping everything out, and we customized the way I trained, and it made it a lot more fun. It made it more setting myself little goals every day, and they were different every day. So I used to look at training from a Monday to Friday perspective, and then after that I felt like every day was like a Monday or a Tuesday. Yeah. And even Friday, where it was a totally different training day because I was maybe a little more physically tired from the week, we still treated it in a way that it felt fresh. And I think if I had done that 5 years ago, 6 years ago, even post Sochi and leading up to Korea, I think I could have skated with even more assertiveness and confidence, and And I did have a bit of that, but it was only a hint of what it could have been.
Do you resent that? Feeling as though you just like kind of got this golden nugget of info so late in your career?
There's so many variables, even though that was such a big part of, I think, the success of this year. There's so many variables, like so many things can change, and you can analyze it crazy. You can analyze it to the max and find all these little details that you could have done differently that might have made a difference. But I wouldn't change anything for it, because it gave me really some pretty amazing experiences, and I can now carry myself post Olympics and post career, feeling like I can get myself out of any situation really, and any moments of fear or anxiety, and I know that's going to happen again. And at the end of the day, that's I think a bigger statement to myself and to my future than an Olympic gold medal that ever will, which I have in a way, and
not in a way, you have,
but it makes no difference, and that's why it's and same with Sochi. That's one of the biggest things I remember was a turning point where I was like, that gold medal, that not having that gold medal does not define me, or having a silver medal instead of a gold does not define me, and does not change anything in my life. If I'm 99% sure, like, most of my life would be pretty much the same if I had won gold in Sochi.
Mm-hmm. You've talked about having a Patrick Chan Academy, figure skating academy. The physiological piece that you just described, is that something you would want to bring forward to change figure skating for the better?
Yeah, absolutely. I was just talking to kind of the high development coaching side of Skate Canada, and I think it's something to be aware of, and something to pass on. Like, that's a knowledge that I kind of discovered in just within the world of figure skating. I know some of the ice dancers already do that type of training, but when it comes to singles, it's very not present, and that's why we're seeing it in the sport now, where there's all these really young 16-year-old, 18-year-old skaters that are winning worlds and winning the Olympics, and they don't even have the awareness of like what's happening around them. And next thing you know, they go home 3-4 years later and they fall off the face of the earth, and they're not respected as people. And I think that's probably the most important common denominator when it comes to a skating academy or any sort of school in terms of skating. I think it's important to really pay attention to that part of like, okay, first, Marie-France talked about it yesterday during a panel talk. She's a coach in Montreal, taught Tessa and Scott, and they asked her like what made her successful, and she said I start from like the core of that person, like what does that person like, what does that person feel passionate about, and then we start from there, and then you treat the person like a human being, not a tool or not an object. And that's what happens in skating sometimes. And beyond that, I think it's really important to be smart in the training and create longevity in the sport, not have the one-hit wonders, which that we're seeing a lot nowadays in singles. So it's a lot of work. A skating academy would be a dream come true. But I know Brian Orser in Toronto, who is running the cricket club, didn't have really a dream, or like didn't really have a solid plan when it came to having a big school like he has now. So I have a hard time trying to prepare for it, and I don't want to be too prepared, yet I don't want to be too relaxed about it. It's something that can be very beneficial to the sport.
What is the single greatest gift that sport has given you?
I mean, I'd say friendship is number one. Like having found my groups, my group of friends that I really can go to, that I want to sit on a dock and look at the water and look at the stars together. And it's finding those types of people is very difficult, and I've been very lucky with that. But what I've noticed that we have all in common is that we have a lot of youth to our hearts, and we have a lot of we live in the present, in the moment. And I think that's what sport forces you to do, is not to look at your past and not to look at your future, and to look at who's around you and completely immerse yourself in it. And when I'm with friends and we're out and we're having fun and we're having dinners and we're having drinks, it's I always take a moment and just like look around and observe and see how we interact, and you just feel so youthful. And like in the heyday of the Beatles, I always want to say that, because it's like they're just so young and fun, and yet we've been thrusted into these worlds where we have to be 100% sure of what we want in our lives, what we want to do in our lives. And some of us do know and some of us don't know, and we're just exploring, and we like to explore within ourselves and learn more about ourselves and have an awareness of our thoughts and each other's thoughts. And you don't find a lot of people like that, I think, and that is, I think, very special.
Buddy, full-time beauty, once again, my one and only boyfriend. Love you so much, buddy.
Love you too.
Patrick Chan, everyone, thank you so much for taking the time. I know you're a busy kid.
No, it's all good.
No, you jet setter. Jet setter. A million mile club?
Yeah, that's my goal. That's my next goal.
God.
That's my next Olympic goal, is getting 1,000,000 miles.
Everyone, Patrick Chan, thank you so much. Peace. Peace. Patrick Chan and I curled up in Calgary to record our chat in Caitlin Weaver's hotel room, no less. Email your comments to us at playersownvoicepodcast@cbc.ca. Social media at #CBCPOVpodcast. David Giddens is the producer. I'm Anastasia Busis. Thanks for listening. Peace.
Love CBC podcasts? Help us make them better. Take our CBC Podcast listener survey now at cbc.ca/podcasts. The quick survey will help us improve your favorite CBC podcasts. cbc.ca/podcasts.